Hello, and welcome to another presentation. In this presentation, I want to address something very serious. Many communities, not only in Ontario or in Canada, but globally, are developing a 15-minute city. The idea is that they have everything within a 15-minute, 20-minute driving range, and that way it further isolates people from having to go long distances. This is consistent with their pushing the mandate for the Agenda 2030 to have electric vehicles, which will reduce the range that you can travel effectively. If you want to drive a vehicle for 4 hours and it has to be recharged every 2 hours, it becomes very inconvenient for you to travel. Therefore, what many communities are doing, especially major cities, are developing sub-cities, or as we call them, 15-minute cities within the district. The important thing to note here is your voice being heard? Many people are facing this challenge and not sure what to do about it. So I'm presenting this short presentation to give you some ideas or concepts which could be used to challenge the validity of this problem. Over the next few slides, I will discuss potential remedies to the solution, but people need to get involved, and people need to sign a petition and file it with the appropriate authorities. The development proposal is a widespread challenge. Communities across Ontario and Canada, and in fact globally, face continuous development proposals. Black Bear Ridge Golf Course is an expansion and a case study. Key concerns for residents and the impact of the environment, local heritage, and many other concepts and problems arise from such a development. This video will outline some of this briefly. When considering tasks of transparency, residents raised serious concerns but felt unheard. There has been 2 meetings that I attended way back when, and most recent meeting, which happened about a month ago. Some of the recent issues flagged is there's no up-to-date, unbiased environmental studies. Keep in mind that when they develop this land, they're destroying local habitats. They're putting in cement, which will act as a heat sink, so the temperature will potentially increase. Lack of full disclosure of the transparent processes. The City of Belleville only lists 2 proposed projects, but there's actually 3. There's a flooding risk when you start changing the levels of the land. There's flooding risks when you build on floodplains. The proposed golf course expansion is actually a 15-minute city, and they're building on both sides of the river. It could also affect the water table. They're building on patented land prior to the Queen coming to Canada and developing the Canada Hudson's Bay Company. Municipalities are not permitted to expropriate land for economic gain, and the increase in taxes to people in the area is not something that was asked for by the residents. If the residents demanded this, there wouldn't be these proposals. Now, the local municipality has to give the residents a chance to voice their opinion, but I have already been told by city staff that we can ignore what you state or what you say, even though it was at a local meeting. In fact, in one meeting situation, they actually shut the meeting down early so my voice couldn't be heard. Okay? Participation and local voices need to be heard. And there's laws and things that we need to do to make that happen. One of the things that we need to do, is, in fact, is sign a petition. Know your legal rights. In Ontario, there's a regulation called 322/12, no local improvements on private land without consent. So if the city or municipality is proposing to do some development, they're doing a local improvement on private land. The only thing the municipality really has control over, in theory, is the road. Now, in reality, you registered your property, so the government thinks that they own it. But if the government thinks they own your property and therefore can tax your property, I would make the argument that, okay, if you've maintained the property for them, then you should be entitled to compensation. However, because we don't want to get into that type of an argument, the Conservation Authority Act and Regulation 9704 strictly prohibit building on floodplains except in rare exceptions. And there's case law. Peel Regional Municipality versus Luke's Court Apartments Limited. Public consultation and environmental impact studies were not done, right? The legal duties were not met. In addition, you may even be building on native land or other specially designated property, and the municipalities disregard these facts. These are some points, by no means to be all points, but these are some key points that you could bring up. There's also the power of a legal maxim. I've presented it here. Let the other side be heard. Bypassing consultation or allowing public input and taking it into consideration risks legal challenges and diminishes public trust. In Belleville, residents mobilized via official channels, and the Conservation Authority or the Ontario Land Tribunal will be your only option. If you set a bunch of people who sign a petition and you present this information to the Ontario Land Tribunal, as well as the Conservation Authority, as well as the municipality, then we may stand a chance. The other thing that will need to be done, of course, because this development will continue until legal action has been taken, is the local residents will have to form a group and take the municipality and potentially the Conservation Authority and the Ontario Land Tribunal to court if each one aids and abets the other party. But most importantly, if you took the municipality to court, and the immediate thing you would do is file an injunction. And what an injunction will do is it'll put the halt on the developments. Okay? So if there's a case and the injunction has been granted, then everything must stop until these environmental studies and these risk assessment studies and full disclosure has been given to the public. Now, many people may have already find themselves that they're in a development that was built on a floodplain. Much of the one end of Foxborough and the new development that's gone down Mudcat Road is actually in a floodplain. And what they did is haul a whole pile of fill and built up the land so they could build houses basically in a swamp. Now, if you face this situation, this was not disclosed to you, and therefore your contract, your mortgage, and your taxes are all being collected illegally. And the only reason the municipality would build in such a place is a complete lack of respect, if you will, for the law, complete disregard for the law and your rights. You, as a tax-paying citizen, have a right to address this. You can go to the Conservation Authority, at least you should be able to, and get a map, unless the Conservation Authority is aiding and abetting the municipality. Document everything. If you have your basement flooding, if you have your building shifting or cracking, anything like that, document it, because it will be needed in a court of law should you decide to challenge it. The other thing you can do, of course, is, if you can do this, is find another place to live and then challenge the municipality when they can't come after you. You may want to put your property into a private trust. Steps for citizens facing similar issues. Organize your documents, collaborate with others, keep detailed records, demand transparency, request all environmental planning documents, and seek a third-party review. Somebody may have something good to add or subtract or modify within your documents before you present them. Exercise your legal rights, and always respond to all notices, attend all hearings, and cite relevant case law or relevant laws. Leverage. Use the media, social media, news outlets, and advocacy groups to get the message out. Okay? Persist and escalate. Appeal to the Land Tribunal, the Ombudsman, or the courts if needed. If you have a number of people in your local area who are affected, who sign a petition, that will go a long way. One person is easy to crush, but a group of 100 people or more would be very hard to crush or silence. Okay? If you have all these people that are up in arms because of what's transpired, then you stand a better chance. Okay? A call for a stronger democracy. Black Bear Golf Course is only one example. Okay? This is happening all over. Okay? Citizens have the power when they're acting together as a group to demand transparency, due process, and legal accountability. Stay informed, get organized, and use your voice collectively with others. Protect the community and fair government principles. The municipalities have been getting away with all kinds of illegal activities, such as putting in housing developments over garbage dumps, toxic sewer sites, swamps, and many people have health risks, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, and have no idea that their property was built over such a toxic site because it wasn't disclosed. Any contract without full disclosure is, of course, null and void from conception, meaning that you have the right to hold the municipality accountable, you have a right to void your mortgage and demand all your mortgage payments back, as well as any taxes that you may have paid to the municipality. These 15-minute cities are going through, and people need to know their rights and what they can do about it. I would like to thank you for listening to this short presentation. Is your voice being heard? Stop the 15-minute cities and demand accountability for the wrongdoings that have been done and that are continuing to be done in the future. Thank you for your time.